Hello, girls and boys. Ready? Let's begin.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Danny Eley Live. Today is May 7th. This is day 49 since Governor Newsom has declared a stay-at-home order in the state of California. And tomorrow, day 50, May 8th, will be the first day that we are able to go back outside again. Well, I mean, you can go outside, but we are in a little bit of a spot here. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late, and that starting soon ran a little bit longer. I can't find our show on YouTube right now. It says we're live on YouTube. I just can't find it. But we are live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Twitter. So if you're following us at any of those places, what's up? See, like, Facebook says they're having trouble with the video. Maybe it's just my computer. Maybe it's just the speed. I'm going to try to refresh here, see if that helps. Okay. All right. Looks like it's coming back on.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
There we
What's
go.
happening?
So anyways, we are live, like I said, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I see you there. I see all the viewers checking us out right now on TikTok. What's up, Traps Chris Breezy 2? What's up, Anne Marie Price? What's up, Unknown Unknown? What's up, user 339263909915? What's up, Samantha Norlander? What's up? Yeah, what's happening, everybody? How you doing, Jim? Joining us on Twitter. What's up, Miss Sweet Tree on TikTok? What's up, Hunter McGill on TikTok? Daniel Lopez on TikTok? Knick Knack Paddywhack on TikTok? Randy on TikTok? No on TikTok? Teo Parks? Galundi210. If you're here and you're watching and you want to join the conversation, you want to be part of the conversation we're having right now, put a 1 in the comment tonight. If you couldn't tell by the title, some of you don't see the title, but we are talking about life is not fair. Life is not fair. How many of you guys have ever experienced that? Life not being fair, right? Like where it just isn't. There's I guess my better question would be, at what age did you realize? Josh, how you doing? At what age did you realize that life was not fair, right? Because a lot of us, maybe, for me, I'll just explain for me. My dad, I was the oldest of, growing up, I was the oldest of three other brothers. Three brothers. That's four of us total. I was the oldest of four. And I had, I was the oldest, so I had responsibilities. I had things that were not fair, and I would constantly tell my parents how life is not fair, and my dad would remind me. I would not say life isn't fair. I would say, hey, Vidya, watching on Instagram, Smalley Man, watching on TikTok. My parents would say to me, I would say, that's not fair. Why do they get to do that? Why don't I get to do that? And my parents would say to me, life is not fair. Sometimes my dad's in the chat, and he can attest to that as well. He can let you guys know. He used to tell me all the time, life is not fair. It's just not. And I hated hearing that, honestly. Like, I hated hearing that. And I grew up in a time where we're encouraged to try to bring fairness to people, to be fair to others, right? We're always trying to be fair with one another, treat people as you would be like to be treated, all that stuff, which I definitely agree with and appreciate. However, that doesn't change the fact that life is not fair. When I was a young man, probably 10 years old, I became addicted with reading. So I started reading whatever I could pull that I could understand. So like I think it started with the Boxcar Children. Do you guys remember the Boxcar Children? Right? So I started reading the Boxcar Children, the stories of the Boxcar Children, which was a group of, I think, 2 boys and 2 girls. Correct me if I'm wrong. That for whatever reason, lived in the caboose of a train. Like, they turned a caboose of a train into their apartment. They didn't have parents. I'm not exactly I don't remember. I'm fuzzy on the details of why they lived in a boxcar, but they lived in a boxcar. Maybe it was not the caboose of the train. Maybe it was the boxcar. They weren't like hobos going from town to town in the train. But anyways, I started reading. It was a series of books. I started reading that. I remember I read Judy Blume. Remember, people that are my age will remember around 3rd, 4th grade, you started reading the stories of Fudge-mania, right? I don't remember the main character in that book's name. There was a really interesting book that I read in this time, in this period, that was called Then Again, Maybe I Shouldn't, which was very, very interesting book. If you've read that book, you know what I'm talking about. But I started reading everything, and I like literally would read probably 15 to 20 books a week. Like, I was a bookworm. I could not get my hands on enough books. Like Costco at the time. Yes, I was a kid when Costco existed. Costco had a pack, I think it was a 4-pack of the Hardy Boy books, right? So I'd read those. Tried Nancy Drew, but couldn't get into it because of the whole girl thing, and I was a boy. You got to read the boy books when you're a boy. You don't want to read about a girl detective. You want to read about the Hardy Boys, the Hardy Brothers. So anyways, I was a bookworm, and I got my hands on a book. Hold on one second. Let me see if I have it. I think I do have it right here. Oops. I knew I had it. So right here, this book, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, by Mildred D. Taylor. This is an amazing book. Like, I remember reading it thinking, wow, that's a lot of words. Because like I was used to like the smaller books without as many words on it, right? But Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Give me props if you read this book when you were a kid growing up. Let me know that you read Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. I know a lot of my friends have. I know every time I mention this book, people are like, have memories of this book. But I remember this was actually the first piece of any type of entertainment, like if you consider reading entertainment, I do, that I remember having a deep impact in my life. Like, I remember being a 10-year-old kid finishing this book about Cassie and Stacy and TJ and Little Man, and I remember leaving the book, finishing the book, right, reading the last lines. I cried for TJ and the land, right? Reading those last lines, and I remember having this book having an emotional effect on my life. I remember walking out of my room. I remember laying on the ground and thinking on what I had just read, and I remember having an impact from this book because it wasn't my first exposure to understanding that race played a part in America. I knew, I was aware, I was conscious that race was an issue that America had. But I think this book, what it did for me was it gave me a perspective from the inside that it dealt with me emotionally. Bernard Guevara, did I say it right? How you doing? Thanks for watching on TikTok. Doggy, what's up? Oh, that's Lidybug. That's my favorite person in the whole world just showed up on the TikTok. She's not gonna see this for a couple minutes because we're on a delay. But anyways, this book had an emotional effect on my life. I read it and I remember going, wow, there really is, not there really is, because I remember reading it going, wow, people were not treated fairly, because this book is placed back in time. I remember thinking people were not treated fairly, and then as I started to look across, kind of across life, and I started to see things, I started to realize some of the lessons that I learned in this book about fairness, and that life is not fair, and life is cruel, and life is mean sometimes, and life is not fair. Now, I am starting this podcast, this episode off super depressing, right? We're talking about life not being fair. I'm telling you, when I was a kid, I grew up, my dad said, Dad, it's not fair. And he said, life's not fair. Lydia, I'm sure your dad said that to you a couple times. He said, life's not fair. And he was right. Life is not fair. A couple years later, I think I was 12 years old at the time. I was a big news junkie, and I would watch the news, listen to the news, listen to politics, all kinds of things. A couple years later, I really got into Martin Luther King Jr. I started listening to his speeches. Now, he was long gone by the time I was born, but I started listening to his speeches and understanding the equality that he stood, the unity that he stood for, and the injustice that he stood against, right? When I was, I believe, 12 years old, I was a big news junkie, and I watched the news. I watched an NPR report. I think it was NPR. Seemed like NPR. Could have been some other news source, but it seemed like NPR. I remember watching a news report on the situation that was happening in Rwanda, and I remember it was the first time that I ever felt frustrated with my own country, because as I was watching, I was seeing that bad things were happening there, people were being killed, and our country was arguing over a definition rather than sending in help. And I later learned it was because in Rwanda, the U.S. didn't have interest, right? And I couldn't understand how human interest, how humans were not an interest. And so I began to see the world was not fair. I began to see that, truthfully, I began to see that me being born in Oregon, to a loving family, what an incredibly blessed person I was. That I had a family that, yeah, my brothers and I would fight, and yeah, I would get in trouble with my parents, but I really appreciated the family that I was born in, the time that I was born in, the place that I was born in. I started to think of things when I was a young kid, like, man, can you imagine having a toothache during the cowboy days? Like, what would you do? Like, you're riding around on the range and you got a toothache, and like, you can't go to the dentist and get a shot and get it taken care of. Tiffany Nicole, what's up? Good. Thanks for watching us on TikTok. Nate, I see you on Facebook. Thanks for being here. So yeah, I started to develop this consciousness that I was very blessed. I was very blessed in the family that I was born in, and then I started to look around and I started to see a lot of my friends didn't necessarily have a mom and dad, and some of my friends didn't even have parents that they lived with. They lived with aunts or uncles or grandparents. I in fourth grade, I had a friend named Tony, and I found out that he was homeless and lived in his family with his family in his car. And so I realized at a young age how blessed I was. But in understanding that blessing, I also started to understand how unfair life is. How it's unfair that I am living, yeah, and we didn't grow up wealthy, we didn't grow up middle class. Like, my dad worked 5 jobs sometimes just to support us. I remember him going from one job to another, and that was back when, like, it was called moonlighting, right? Like, moonlighting was the term. You could, and it was really looked down upon you if you had a job in the daytime, but then at night you went and worked another job. And I remember my dad delivered pizzas just to put food on the table, just to make sure that we were taken care of. And then he would go deliver newspaper bundles to the newsboys after that, and it was called moonlighting. And he was always worried that he was going to get in trouble with it. I remember we went one time to his boss's house, and I don't think it was me. Somebody, we were really careful not to say anything that Dad was going to go to Domino's later that night to cook pizzas, because we were scared he was going to get fired from his normal job if they found out he was working a side job, right? Which is crazy, because in today's world, everybody has 15 side hustles they're doing. But I realized what a blessed individual I was. I realized how thankful I was that I had a hardworking dad that cared about me and would put food on the table, and I had a mom that would take care of me, even though my mom and I were always at odds, like always at odds. But I knew that she loved me, and I knew that she was coming from a place of love. So I was extremely thankful and grateful, and I learned gratitude at a young age because I was blessed, and there's no other way to say it. Like, a lot of people when they find out this information, most people, and I'm not trying to talk myself up like I'm some big awesome person or anything. What's up, Lin joining us on Instagram? Glad you're here. I'm not talking myself up when I say this, but I understood at a young age that I was blessed. I understood at a young age that I was not dealing with the struggle that a lot of kids my age were dealing with. And I came from a place of gratitude, and I don't want to talk myself up like I was so great because I discovered this young, but I realized some of my friends started discovering this information when they were in college and a little bit later in life. And a lot of the time, the immediate response is to feel guilty for having privilege, for having things in your life that are blessings. And so you feel guilty, you feel bad, you feel disgusted. You really do feel these feelings of disgust when you realize that you've had it better than someone else, and that someone else has had a hard struggle than you've had. But guilt is the wrong emotion. Gratitude should be the correct emotion, because life is not fair, and it's not fair for me, or for the guy that I can. Okay, so there's 2 types of way to look at the world, right? I was researching this, not necessarily researching this, but I heard, as I'm like planning my day and planning what I'm going to talk about, I'm listening to things that I'm hearing, and I heard this statement. I heard this thing about, and I'm going to screw it up. I'm really going to screw it up. So I'm so sorry. But I heard this statement, and I believe it's called the locus. I will get it back to you. I'll get it for you. But it's an idea of where you fall on an internal to external struggle, right? So internal people tend to tend to look at things that happen in their life, and they think that they have control over things in their life. External people look at things and look at that it's someone else's fault. And it's a really good thing to develop in kids, to have them look at their responsibility, the things that happen in life are responses to them and what they do, and they can make choices that can change those things. But sometimes we look at the world from an external place where, like, somebody will look at a test that they failed at and say, oh, I didn't study, I didn't do well. Or someone would look at it from an external perspective, thinking that everything is about someone else did something to me. So the teacher was unfair to me, or the teacher didn't teach me this. It's not a measure of I could have done better, where you internalize and bring it to yourself. And I realize that I am definitely an internal person. I look at the world in a positive way, and I look at everything that happens, success or failure, and I really do, in my family, in my business, in my relationships. I look at the success or failure of something, and I take complete ownership of it. It's success and it's failure. If something fails, it's my fault. If my wife does something that she shouldn't be doing, it's not her fault, it's my fault. When I have children someday, I know I'm going to look at it in the sense of, if they screw up, if they do something wrong, that's mine, not theirs, because I am ultimately responsible, and I definitely feel that responsibility. And so when you look at the world from that mindset, and you look at things that are unfair, you try to look at things that you can do to change things, and you can do to shift things and adjust things. And really, if you can live in a place of gratitude and take that gratitude to others and show others, this is one thing that I've been hearing all week, is somebody definitely has it worse than you. Somebody definitely has a harder stake at life than you. And we get so internal focused, we get so focused on us and our own problems and our own issues, and sometimes we'll say it's because of this outside force that's coming against us, but a lot of the times that's an excuse to not deal with the things that we need to deal with internally, right? I kind of jumped ahead, but that's all right. I look at the days of Occupy Wall Street. You guys remember Occupy Wall Street happened like 10 years ago. Now their argument was that the 1% controls the 99, that the 99 do not get the same power and control that the 1% gets, and we're controlled by the 1%. The 1% is the wealthy. They're the ones that control everything, and they get to decide how the rest of us live. They're the ones that make the rules on how we're all going to live and survive in this world. But during that point in time, I realized something. I realized that yes, possibly in America, the 1% probably are the ruling class, making the rules. They're the ones that are probably deciding how we live. They're the ones that can interrupt our lives. They can make things more difficult for us. And it's because they have the money and the power. But when I look at statistics around the world, and I pull my focus back out of America, and I look at the world, and I look at that as an American citizen with $0 in a bank account, with $0 in my wallet, and with a $400 apartment and a minimum wage job, I am in the top 25% of earners in the world. That when I look at the world, the 7.3 billion people in the world, my situation, my place, my lot in life, I'm the privileged one. And if you live in the US, you can look at that place where you are privileged and you are living in a place of privilege, and you can either feel guilty that you're living there and try to give that privilege away, or you can live in a place of gratitude and thankfulness for that and try to expand that gratitude and thankfulness to others. It's all about gratitude. It's all about self-identity. It's all about understanding the opportunities that you've been given. And think about it. One of my people that I love to listen to is Gary Vee, and he says that we've already won the lottery. We were born. There were 7 billion, 1 billion sperm heading into an egg, and somehow we're the one that made it. If you're alive and breathing today, you've already won the lottery, right? And then if you get to live, if you were born in a place with a free country where you can grow up and decide and make decisions for yourself, you've won. So take your perspective out of this. All these people are trying to come against me and trying to stop me and trying to hinder me, trying to hold me back, and look at what can I do today, because life is not fair and life will never be fair. You will never have it fair. There will always be somebody above you that has it better, but there will always be somebody under you that doesn't have it as well as you have it either. Life will never be fair. We should fight to make life fair for us. What do I mean by that? I mean this. I had a dream last night. I was pondering this idea, and I had a dream last night. And in my dream, it was normally my dreams are like super colorful. There's lots of color. There's lots of stuff. I smell things in my dreams. I taste things in my dreams. My dreams are very vibrant, right? When I'm sleeping, I'm not talking like when I'm dreaming of. I'm saying when I'm sleeping, my dreams are very vibrant. So I'm sleeping and I'm dreaming, and everything, you know that scene where Dorothy goes from Kansas to Oz in The Wizard of Oz, and it goes from black and white, dull, to color, right? Exact opposite. Everything was dull. Everything was black and white and gray. And I started walking around in this world that I was in this dream, and I realized that I was in a place where life was fair. And so I went to play a game. I was a kid and I went to play basketball. And we were playing a game. It was getting intense. I was trying to win, but then it stopped at a tie. Nobody won. And nobody was happy from that. It's funny when you watch a football game, or you watch a basketball game, they always have a way to win. Hockey, they always have a way to win. Baseball, they always have a way to win. But football, there's rare opportunities where the game ends in a tie. And guess what? For the fan and for the players, the tie is worse than the loss. You hate the tie. You would rather get the loss and lose and learn what you need to learn and move on. You hate the tie. Everything was fair. And in this world that I had this dream in, there was absolutely no ambition. There was no effort to try to make anything better, because everything was fair. Everyone was paid the same amount of money. Everyone had their responsibility, their job, their thing. But there was no enjoyment in life. It was a machine. You were a machine. You were just going and doing this, but there was no effort, there's no emphasis, there was no passion, there was no fun, because life isn't fair. There are winners and losers, and if you're losing, if you keep trying, you're gonna win. So that's really the conversation that I want to have. I'm going to expand this later. I'm actually excited to let you guys know I'm writing a book. I've been praying about it and thinking about it for the last probably 6 months. And I finally have been given the path of how to write this. And so I am going to try to document, probably on TikTok and Facebook, maybe a little bit of Instagram. I'm going to try to document the process of how I'm writing this book. But I am writing a book, and it is about success, and it is about finding success, and it's specifically written to kids that I work with. So there's kids like Joshua, right, who lives in South Central with his mom, his 3 little brothers, his sister, and his dad in their 1-bedroom apartment. It's written for my buddy Christian, who just got his very first apartment in Bakersfield, California. It's written for my friend Jessica, who is an amazing artist and a really cool person that lives in Long Beach, and it's written for my good friend Dania, who is an immigrant from Sudan, and she loves to dance. She loves learning, and I want to give some perspective that I've learned in my life to these people, and I hope that it will help other people along the way. That's where I'm writing it. So I'm trying to write the success that I've found in life and how to achieve that success. This is one of the conversations we're going to have, that life isn't fair. And the sooner that we understand that life isn't fair, the sooner that we can begin to look at our losses and look for the opportunities to learn from our losses so that we can win, when we learn that life isn't fair, that there are winners, there are losers, there is profit, there is loss, there is risk, there is opportunity, there's also failure. When we understand all that, then we can establish ways in our life to go after it. So I'm very excited about that. I hope that you guys enjoyed the conversation tonight, that life is not fair, but you can make life fair for you. And one of the big keys of life not being fair is as you learning and as you're growing and you're coming to a place of gratitude and thankfulness, make sure to bring people up with you. That's the most important thing, that life is not fair, so we all got to help each other out. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm so thankful that you guys were here with me tonight. I hope to see you again today is Thursday, so I'll see you guys again on Sunday. We'll definitely have a talk. It'll be a great talk. Not sure the topic yet, but it's going to be good. I can't wait to see you guys then. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, I'm Danny Eley.